So I posted the other day some bad news about the damage that we were getting through there, through this chimney and the other chimney. Now this one's just coming through here, through the floor downstairs and through the loft. The other chimney, this side's coming all the way down to the base and rotting the base, as well as rotting all the walls. So I thought that was bad enough, but it gets worse. So I came the other day to think, I'll strip these windows down and start getting these ready for painting. And then we figured out it was raining on the day we done it, and we figured out the water is coming down the cavity through the frame, dripping down onto the window ledge, and then going through, because the window ledge has been taken out, going through the cavity downstairs. So it turns out, we'll have a look in a minute, there's some brick coming out on the outside of the building, and I think the seal, as the brick comes into the building, which is like a lip there, the seal here against the building is gone, and the water was leaking through. So we were getting so much water coming through. We've done planks down there to catch it, so it runs away under the wood there and goes back out onto the street. And I'll just knock that out. Hang on. So these are catching the water and it runs back out. So it drips down onto there, hits the splashback, comes down onto there and under the sill, but it's rotting the wood. So we thought that was bad enough, but hey, it gets worse. So we've got all the water leaking through the walls there. It's also coming through the wall. Oh, let me show you. So it's not just coming through where the windows are, but it's also coming through the wall on the side, and we're getting all the damp. So here it's cracked all the plaster and the water has been coming out, so we're now getting all the mold come through and the water. So it's running through the front, down the frames, knackering the window frame, so the wood might have to be replaced. It's also coming through the walls. It's like a little river coming through on the inside. Now the weird thing is, it shouldn't be coming through that heavy, even with cavity wall. It's weird how it's coming through so heavy there, so something must be joining and allowed to come through. And we're also getting a stain and the water come through there and over this side, and you can see the stain there. So either side of the bay, and then above the bay and either side there. So let's go and have a look. So above the windows you can see that line of brick coming out. That should have been there to stop the water coming against the window, but the mortar on behind there must have gone, because the water's collecting on that ledge and dripping down on the inside, coming down through there. We've also got this whole area, the water's coming through the wall, and this whole area, the water's coming through the wall, and also coming through there and there. And looking at the lead flashwork now, that all needs redoing because of the gaps coming through there. So that's water's coming in through there as well. And we're also finding a couple of damp spots in the bathroom along the wall there. So it now turns out I've got to get the whole front of the house repointed. So that means every bit of mortar across this whole front, this side and this front, I'm going to hand do the little patch around there, not do the whole wall, I can't afford it. So we've got to dig out all the mortar between 15 and 25 mil thick grooves everywhere, the whole part. Once the mortar's dug out, we then got to put the lime mortar all back in, and it'll be nice. We can do around the windows properly, redo the lead work here and redo the top here. Now once we've got the house all pointed, that will stop the water coming through the walls, and that's another £4,000 I've now got to find. At the same time, I've still got these 2 chimneys to get the repairs done, which hopefully will be in a couple of weeks' time. We think that's not quite as bad, but won't know till we get up there. So I've now got to find another £4,000 to fix this, and once that's all done, I can then go back to fixing everything else I was going to do. So I thought, hell, let's have a go at digging it out. I'm sure there's easier ways, and if you've done it before it's not quite so bad, but you can see we had some damp coming up through the brick here. Now the mortar we didn't think was that good, so we've dug it a little bit, 10 mil of mortar out here, and it's dried. This morning I've dug the rest of the 10 mil out, and with a hammer and chisel, it's hard work. It ain't easy. I don't know, if I suppose up scaffolding it won't be quite so bad, and at least the mortar around the front is a bit knackered, but it's not easy. But the chisel I had, 6 mil wide chisel, was a bit too wide in some of these, so I'd have to get a smaller chisel. And you could try and using an angle grinder and cutting it, but you better be good, because if you cut the brick you've got to replace the brick. So I think hand chiseling would be safest, and that would be a few weeks work, but that's why they quoted £4 grand. So this part's all done. On this now, I've only done this today. This will hopefully the green start to go. I will get this side done in a minute, and I'll get this part done and just round here, and then when we redo the mortar around the front of the house, I'll get that all done. The mortar, as you can see here, is still quite flush to the brick because it's had no water smacking against it, wearing it out. But the front of the house was bad, so yeah, it did need doing. But we'll end up on a bit of good news. Another window done. I've only got the 2 front windows left to do. So today, I'm just about to put a coat of paint on. We rubbed this all down. This wood was all fine. The only part, we had a tiny little bit of rot down there, so I've just sealed that up. Also, all the mortar, all the lime mortar had come out on the joints of the windows, and it was like a 10 mil gap. So I've now sealed with lime mortar the edges. This one's done. So that's all filled in. I'm going to get try it in a minute, some white vinegar mixed with water and clean the brick, see if it takes the stain off. Hopefully it will. I don't know whether to do it now or leave it and do it next week once the mortar's dried a little bit. I think I'll do it next week. If it doesn't wash off, then I'll tell you about that later. This is now all rubbed down. Funny enough, I'm not going to rub down the inside area. As long as I paint all of this, I can get the windows in. Once the window's in, I can take out the kitchen and do the internal part at a later date. For the minute, we're going to get this starting to be painted. And once this one's painted, I've only got those 2 front windows, but the 2 front windows I can't do till all the pointing's done. So we'll see how we do. I think another few loans, another few surprises, and let's just hope once we've got it all patched up, there's not too much damage to the inside walls upstairs where all the water's been coming through. The damp goes, I can kill that off. I'll put some white vinegar on that and leave that, and hopefully the dryness, it will dry out through the summer and it won't come back, and the mortar will be fine to stop it for the next winter. Otherwise I'm going to fix it all, I'm going to do it all up and all the water will come through again, so fingers crossed that don't happen. Oh, and that hole was originally for the piping for the bathroom, the old waste. That's left nasty marks on the brick, so if the white vinegar and water works, I can clean that off as well, and then that'll hide that. At some point maybe I'll dig that brick out and replace the brick, it'll look neater, but we'll worry about that at a later date. So there we go, more bad news, more grief, more headache, and everything I've done upstairs I've got to redo again, but hey ho, I'm learning. Till next time, let's hope we start getting some good news. Catch you later.